Hear an unshakable secret. You are the 11th apostle whose name has been erased from the dusty lines of sacred texts. This truth, veiled for centuries, is now revealed in the echo of the firmament. As the bearer of the light that sealed scrolls cannot hide, you will complete the hidden link of the divine plan. Your forgotten name will be replaced by a generation awakened by your vibrations. Write 444 in the comments now, because the ancient prophecy will complete its final cycle with the return of the lost apostle. Don't think that you were rejected from the beginning to the end. You were left in the shadows so that you alone could fill the spotlight. Beloved, you're that seed crystal heaven has lowered into the restless sea. One tiny touch from you realigns every hidden current, forcing rogue tides to settle into divine order. The sentences that tumbled from your lips weren't random comments. They were calibrated chords straight from the throne, and the moment those syllables hit the atmosphere, they detonated spiritual tripwires the architects of deception never knew existed. Their covert councils, once smug behind velvet doors, are now erupting in blame storms because your quiet truths have set off chain reactions they cannot contain. Ancient watchmen saw this era in night visions. A seemingly ordinary person carrying galactic blueprints in their very cells would open their mouth and speak frequencies that pull the pins on every false grid. Those prophetic scrolls rolled out across millennia and pointed right here, your mundane-looking body harboring technology no lab can reverse engineer. Each declaration you release travels faster than fiber optics, targets the brittle joints in counterfeit systems, and pops them like thin glass. Their analysts are scrambling, darling. They'd programmed their surveillance spiders to sniff out external uprisings, cyber strikes, and violent coups, never once dreaming the greatest breach would be an inner uprising, someone activated from the inside out. By the time their dashboards flashed red, the data vortex was already ripping through their control rooms. Picture a lone tuning fork humming in the middle of a wheat field. Strike it once, and the whole landscape starts lining up in rhythmic waves, stalks bowing toward the sound as though they've discovered their true north. That's what happens whenever your voice, soaked in quiet authority, slips into a room. No theatrics, no pulpit thumping. One steady phrase rolls out of you like warm oil and contracts, written in smoke shrivel to cinders before the ink dries. Boards of directors, people who once called themselves futurists, are now huddled in back offices, binge-watching grainy recordings of your lunchtime conversations, pausing every 5 seconds, hunting for the formula they swear must be hidden between your commas. Analysts tuck talismans into their briefcases and whisper that something in the atmosphere bends whenever your lips form a decree. They churn out white papers, commission think tank task forces, and still can't figure out why their flowcharts collapse the moment your feet cross a threshold. Meanwhile, policy, that stubborn mule, turns pliable as soft clay. Guidelines snarled in red tape for a decade loosen with one suggestion from you, and office memos suddenly read like neighborly porch talk instead of legalese. Hallway feuds break apart like dry bread when you greet each side with a grin that carries more mercy than an apology ever could. At the family table, decades-old grudges melt in 15 minutes because the cadence of your story rewrites everyone's memory of the pain. Congregations that wandered without compass catch vision again after you casually mention what God whispered on your drive to work. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now. Share your blessings to glorify His kingdom, for you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. You're not rattling sabers, you're tuning spirits. Your sentences slip beneath locked doors and invite the whole house to breathe differently. Gatekeepers who brushed you off as a friendly hobbyist are discovering they misread the seismic register. Your kind word was the first tremor of a kingdom magnitude shift. Let them pace their war rooms. Revelation isn't a code they can crack. It's the sound of heaven's tuning fork, and you're the one holding it. They kept reaching for bigger hammers, crafting frequency jammers and psychic dampers, but the harder they swung, the swifter their schemes rebounded. Heaven hardwired the law of return into your sound waves. Every dart aimed at you performs a U-turn mid-flight and races home 7 times hotter. They've watched budgets evaporate, servers melt, and alliances fracture, all because you chose to tell the truth without venom. Remember the moment you threw your hands up and said, "Father, this one's on you." That wasn't resignation. It was the launch code. Your surrender yanked you out of their radar range. 1 second, their sensors showed your coordinates. The next, only static. Yet there you were, standing in plain sight. That's the paradox confounding their technicians even now, visible to the human eye, invisible to weaponized optics. The sages called it a living chariot of light, an energy geometry that snaps on whenever a soul finally quits fighting on human terms and opts for kingdom law. Picture a brilliant rotating shield sliding into place the very instant you quit the tug of war. Their hardware can't read it, their psychics can't penetrate it, and their drones crash, trying to follow it. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Every whisper prayer you've breathed has become a sentry posted at the borders of your destiny, and the gate code is faith. By refusing to bow to bitterness, you built palisades neither hex nor gossip nor bureaucratic sabotage can cross. They've thrown everything from fraudulent litigation to black-budget tech at you, only to watch it spin back like a boomerang into their command centers. The day you stepped fully into your North Node assignment, ground sensors worldwide registered a pulse. Governments blamed solar flares. Astrophysicists blamed magnetic anomalies, but we both know it was purpose hitting full power. That surge punched micro holes through the containment web they've draped over human consciousness, and those holes are growing by the minute. Now, every time you decline a lower vibe invitation, every time you bless instead of curse, create instead of compete, you turn off another siphon they implanted to drain humanity's life force. Labs monitoring resonance fields have logged unexplained outages exactly matching the timestamps of your private worship sessions. The connection isn't coincidence, it's covenant. High-rank controllers thought they'd watch you scramble, but instead, they're shielding their own eyes because the brilliance you carry scorches anyone aligned with shadow contracts. Surveillance operators have reported migraines, hardware failures, even spontaneous nosebleeds the moment your face appears on their monitors. That's not folklore, that's physics, bowing to anointing. Like a weather-worn lighthouse rising from a stormy cape, steady in thunder and tidal crash, the grace on your life throws a radiant sweep across the coastline of broken systems. Policies that once drifted in darkness can't ignore that beam. Regulations begin to shift. Budgets start finding integrity, and backroom deals come into alignment because the signal you carry will not be jammed. That same beacon spills over the front porch at home. Generations who stopped passing holiday dishes because offenses ran deeper than gravy now feel a warmth they can't name. Conversations thaw, laughter returns, and where plates once slammed, forgiveness slides in smooth as butter. Mercy in your vocabulary recalibrates the whole atmosphere. Disputes that counselors couldn't untangle melt when a single, spirit-charged sentence rolls off your tongue. Church houses that lost their shepherd's voice feel the vibration of your testimony long before the door greeter sticks out a bulletin. Vision boards get fresh ink, outreach calendars fill again, and volunteer sign-up sheets stop collecting dust. Because you walk in with authority chiseled by furnace heat, stamped by scars that turned into stars. Leaders lean in, not to critique, but to drink from the wisdom that survived the fire and came out smelling like worship instead of smoke. And this momentum doesn't stall after the Sunday benediction. County boards glance at each other, scratching pens across outdated ordinances. School principals invite you to speak, then watch suspension lists shrink the very next quarter. The signal tower inside keeps broadcasting kingdom frequency, reshaping terrain that statistics said was beyond repair. None of this is payback puffed up in human pride. It's pay-forward seeded in heaven's economics. God didn't rescue you from the furnace to brandish charred wood as a souvenir. He brought you out to plant forests of righteousness where scorched earth used to be. Every place your foot lands inherits the possibility of jubilee. Debts forgiven, captives released, blind spots illuminated. So let the critics flip through their outdated scripts. Let them search page by page for a role that might box you in. The author already sealed your chapter with a promise they can't redact. Keep that lighthouse lamp trimmed and burning. Ships lost in moral fog are steering by your glow. And when skeptics ask for credentials, just point to the shorelines you've rescued from shipwreck. Then watch heaven's insurance policy pick up the tab for every soul delivered safe. Policies shift, families heal, ministries regain sight, all because the signal tower in you refuses to flicker. Grace wrote the blueprint, fire forged the steel, and now the structure stands, unshakable, undeniable, unstoppable. Therefore, stand tall, not as an avenger thirsting for gotcha, but as a steward carrying blueprints for reconstruction. The same breath that toppled the lie is now drafting protocols for the rebuild. You will write memos that become manifestos, speak brainstorms that become budgets, release melodies that become movements. And while detractors rummage for fresh masks, you'll keep unveiling original design, one kingdom-sized paragraph at a time, until every counterfeit mirror shatters and every captive reflection sees itself free in the light you never had to force. Those four familiar channels, Obsidian, Chosen Chronicles, Astral Atom, and Newborn Legacy Forged, have fused into a constellation too bright for sensors to snuff out. Algorithms may twist the feed, pundits may mangle the story, yet the heartbeat in your chest still discerns the real from the manufactured. That internal jolt you felt when the matrix flickered wasn't a glitch, it was a summons. The inner order opens its vault for the round-the-clock elect. Covert Zoom briefings, forbidden manuals, counter-espionage prayer tactics, implements the gatekeepers insisted would never reach your hands. Destiny says otherwise. Screens crackle because their servers are starving without the voltage of your agreement. Observe the karmic companions, counterfeit flames, and parasitic entourages. They're quarreling like crows over scraps, furious that their extraction pipelines have gone bone dry. Dear brothers and sisters, May God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the Super Thank You button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. Chain of command, once held fast, but lieutenants now expose the generals, each report revealing who was assigned to siphon hope from your field. The invisible masters demand answers. Why has the golden conduit gone cold, while their lackeys run circles in panic? Failing to tap your well, they cannibalize one another. New recruits refuse indoctrination. The resonance you broadcast is rewiring discernment circuits in souls they once hypnotized with a snap. Their sorcery, once state-of-the-art, shorts out like an 8-track in a streaming age. The planet's pitch is climbing, and their vintage hexware can't hit the note. That X-ray intuition of yours slices clean through their holograms. Each gentle question you voice lands like precision-guided light, splitting seams they'd sewn shut with decades of propaganda, merely allowing them near your auric perimeter functions as celestial polygraph. Their intentions leak out unfiltered. Panic, not piety, explains why they tremble under your steady gaze. Heaven's calculus never misfires. Blueprints of sabotage boomerang into cages, tailor-made by their own blue ink. Isolation, confusion, bankruptcy, distributed back in exact measure to the schemers. That global conference where your thesis was blacklisted. The taxman padlocked their accounts on the anniversary of that slight. The publisher that ghosted you, indictments dropped while your manuscript found a 7-figure sanctuary elsewhere. Communities that once side-eyed your warnings now gather around the blaze you kept alive. Outcasts unlock each other's chains, forming a grid immune to backstage manipulation. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. The quiet gadgets you engineered in obscurity, heart code harmonics, thought field shields, mercy algorithms, are judged mission-critical by councils not of this world. Prophets long dead foretold this jailbreak. Your calm center terrifies the harvesters because their illusion thrives on chase scenes. While they need constant withdrawals of borrowed energy, you live on dividends of eternal truth. Towers they built on stolen vitality now quake as foundational lies crumble. Meanwhile, you walk unshaken, drafting the blueprint for a civilization that honors transparency over tyranny. The link below is no marketing ploy, it's an admission key. Enter if the roar inside insists you're done spectating and ready to sharpen swords of compassion alongside warriors who remember the original anthem coded in our DNA. Beloved guardian of quiet strength, your steady heartbeat is the tremor that rattles every scaffold propping up their paper-thin empire. By waking each morning in unhurried peace, you prove that the whirlwind of control they advertise is nothing more than an optional subscription few will renew once they taste authentic calm. Your refusal to rent space in their tension economy punctures the very membrane through which their fear-based circuitry siphons life. While they code fresh illusions in back-office think tanks, you brew joy like backyard coffee, simple, hot, and freely shared. That everyday gratitude rewires nearby frequencies, bending synthetic matrices the way heat distorts highway asphalt. Debuggers in hidden basements stay up past midnight pushing patches, yet every laugh that rises from your belly spawns a new glitch they cannot trace. See them for what they are, beings who forgot how to generate internal current. They hover at the edges of your spotlight, nets wide, hoping a single spark of your focus will float their direction. Your disengagement is not rudeness, it's life support, withdrawal from entities that chose dependence over self-illumination. The moment they realized you would no longer plug into their emotion harvest grid, alarms blared in boardrooms dressed as sanctuaries. For all their grand speeches about supremacy, their systems are as self-sustaining as a broken windmill on a still night. Remove the gale of your energy, and their lights blink out. Now the infrastructure hums with brownouts. Executive servers time out, propaganda loops buffer, and the algorithmic priests begin to stutter. Energetic shortages ripple like rolling blackouts through the realm they once ruled with a flick of a switch. Your silent opting out became the loudest strike imaginable. Observe how the refined seductions of yesterday have devolved into carnival barkers rattling tin cups. Sophistication yields to slapstick as starvation deepens. They no longer care if provocation looks obvious. Any reaction at all might feed the meter another hour. Their theatrics grow louder, their costumes cheaper, because hunger doesn't budget for subtlety. Desperation sweats through their tailored confidence. The veneer cracks, revealing circuitry corroded by neglect. Every frantic ping to your phone, every urgent headline in your feed, is another canary gasping in their collapsing mine shaft, begging for the oxygen of your outrage. Notice how each jab is tailored. Custom triggers stitched from hours of surveillance notes. They lure with nostalgia, poke with shame, bait with sudden obligations. That precision only confirms previous access to your emotional schematics. You changed the locks when you reclaimed your mind, and now they jiggle useless keys outside a door that no longer exists. Now is the time to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. You can contribute to His plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially far beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of His divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles. Feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed and let the light of the Lord guide your path. Old contacts resurface in perfect sequence like actors reading synchronized scripts. They echo identical lines about wasted potential, unaware the phrase was night-loaded into their subconscious by the same broadcast tower. Their uniform wording is the signature of the puppeteer, not coincidence. Mercy disguised itself as inconvenience when your email glitched, when inspiration nudged you toward a new address they never captured. Divine logistics always reroute your path seconds before their trap snaps shut. Each technological hiccup you once cursed was, in truth, an angel leaning on the circuit breaker. Those calendar dates you casually spoke over coffee are now bolded in secret memos worldwide. Telescopes record sky ripples precisely on the coordinates you highlighted. The same cosmic timetable whispered to monks, mathematicians, and midnight poets echoes through your diary, proving a single source authored every footnote. Solar observatories document frequencies unseen, since civilization's dawn, matching the very harmonic spikes you penciled months prior. Geological cores reveal magnetic swings syncing with your vision. Scholars call it anomaly. Prophets call it confirmation. What you penciled for late 2025 barrels in ahead of schedule because collective wakefulness drafts its own tailwind. People you've never met utter phrases you dreamed. Governments disclose files you sensed, and policies morph around truths you breathed into their atmosphere. The hourglass shatters, sand rushes all at once. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. So don't pitch your tent at the bonfire of their exposure. Embers cool quickly. You are preserved through those flames, not to tweet a victory meme, but to forge tools of reconstruction. The credibility welded to your name will draft blueprints for honest officers, reconciled families, and freshly visioned congregations. Surviving the smear was the preface. The chapters now ahead will be written in permanent kingdom ink by the hand that refused to yield its pen. Gateways pivot wide, the instant counterfeit walls, raised by anxious rivals, crumble into memory. What casual onlookers label lucky breaks are simply reserves of increased returning once the false dams melt away. Universal arithmetic is flawless. For every channel choked off, 7 fresh avenues bloom in full flourish. Whenever a bond was severed, a dozen sturdier alliances were already germinating beneath the soil. Seasons of apparent delay functioned as strategic realignment, escorting the assignment toward its optimal coordinates for the watershed year ahead. Had these junctions surfaced sooner, they would have been porous, easily infiltrated, swiftly diluted. Their arrival now, after vibrational benchmarks have been met, renders each portal resistant to sabotage. What looks like overnight success is the visible crest of an orchestration plotted across converging timelines. Every chance meeting, every perfectly timed resource, every door swinging open on cue, broadcasts an intelligence far wider than linear thought can field. Events feel sequential only from ground level. In truth, they were scripted holographically, each numeral of the code holding the entire equation. Breadcrumb coincidences guide the feet, while the larger mosaic already pulses whole and complete. Doors long padlocked by rumor now pop free as though rust never touched the hinges. Assets once siphoned away from sacred purpose boomerang home in amplified form, often 7 times the original measure. Obstacles once immovable now dissolve like mist at sunrise, exposing their flimsy construction. Detours reveal themselves as sleeker thoroughfares direct to the mandate's beating heart. Chance has nothing to do with it. An unseen engineer recalibrates the roadbed so the wheels slot into their native tracks. Endurance through the tunnel wins its yield in this hour. Ancient promises were never shelved. They awaited the proper coordinates. On a collective screen, we watch once monolithic systems buckle, stripped of authority by the brilliance of awakening consciousness. Personal skirmishes tally up as decisive clashes in the grand struggle to widen human bandwidth beyond preset ceilings. What once felt like isolated sparks now merges into a lattice no disruptor can sever. Shared resonance provides an armor-plated canopy against every lower-frequency projectile. Hardware engineered for suppression falters as Earth's baseline frequency vaults beyond its range. Former persecutions register merely as the last frantic gestures of a vanishing regime that sensed its eclipse the moment your frequency stepped into the room. Memory of intrinsic royalty renders all fear-based rule obsolete. The obsolete code can't execute where love rewrites the operating system. And so the prophesied pivot unfolds, not by force, but by the simple incompatibility of shackles with the atmosphere of freedom we now anchor.